Start off with that story from the World Cup because we're 16 days away from it. And as you get closer and every game is being played, you realize that players are limping off the pitch. I saw an interview where Casemiro, who plays for Manchester United, said, look, if you think about the injuries, then you're potentially going to pick up one. So talk to me about that and how that is, playing on the players' minds, no pun intended, because we've seen a couple of players who are very instrumental to their national teams, one of which is N'Golo Kante, who early on, as far as a month ago, it was quite clear he might not be part of the World Cup team. Paul Pogba as well, we're now hearing is more or less a confirmed situation with him. But Gini Wijnaldum as well, what a loss for the Netherlands he'd be. Talk us through that. The latest joining that list there is Heung-min Son, who we hear has got to undergo surgery on his left eye, fracture somewhere there. Massive miss for him and, of course, for the nation as well.
Yeah, massive miss for Paul Pogba, sorry. Not so much because you look at that French team and you would think that they've got a lot of options in his position. Absolutely brilliant footballer. But you've got to talk about Son Heung-min and what he represents for the people of Korea and how a big individual he is, a big ambassador he is for that country. And if they don't have him at the World Cup, would be a huge miss because they will not only be missing out of their captain, but their talisman. And players can tell you all they want, but you cannot avoid the fact that mentally in their heads, they think about the fact that this is the world's biggest football tournament, that has to do with countries. And you've got to think about wanting to play in the World Cup, wanting to have the World Cup on your CV, and in a few weeks of the World Cup. It's quite unfortunate because this is happening in winter. It has never happened before, and players at this time of the season usually get into the thick of things, but now they have to think about the fact that you cannot, slide into tackles that normally you would do because you don't want to get injured. It's playing in the mindset of the players. And I quite agree with Casemiro. You probably need a bit of luck, a bit of good fortune. Keep on playing, playing at that level of professionalism. But it's quite unfortunate for some of these players because these are players who could easily lit up the World Cup.
I tell you what, it's a good time to be a goalkeeper now because if you're Ospina, for example, you're thinking, look, I just need to make some dives and take some saves and that'll be good. But
you could still get clattered by, in a set piece situation, you can still get clattered. But again, the goalkeepers get a lot of protection, so I'm sure they still have the edge over the outfield players.
Well, of course, according to the countries who are most affected now, France, of course, leading the pack there. England as well. The latest joining them is Ben Chilwell, who we saw limp off in the Champions League game, match day 6. A bit of a shame, really. Because, you play the entire 5 games and you get injured on the last day. Really, look, in the last minute or thereabout, right? You can see the very forlorn look on his face, as well as the coaching staff there. I feel sorry for him. Brazil with 2 injured players. Then Diogo Jota for Portugal. And, of course, off the back of what has been a revival of his career, Timo Werner, we're hearing also joins the list. And Argentina also have got 2 players there. So, clearly, France are the biggest hit nation from an injury perspective. But they've got a pool of talents. Yeah. So, they're thinking, we've got Chouameni, we've got this, kid Camavinga as well. Not to worry.
I don't think you can worry so much for that French team. By the way, they are looking at a position where they can, transition into another side. And you mentioned Chouameni, you mentioned Camavinga, and these are 2 of the brightest spots in that midfield position. Guendouzi in that mix as well. Got really exciting young players coming through in that midfield situation. Maybe they don't have to count on the experience of Paul Pogba. But again, you look at the exuberance that Chouameni and Camavinga brings to you. I don't think Didier Deschamps will worry that much.
Well, of course, that's how things stand. And hopefully, that's pretty much the end of the injury list going into the World Cup. Be a part of the show as well. Do us a solid, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at fansconnect.club. And, of course, Afro Sports TV as well.